Howdy, all.
Hello. I will be right back. Mike and Russ will now discuss another sport with you.
Wow. Okay. Now everybody turn off since we're not talking about hockey.
Right.
Now everybody is focused, especially in Buffalo, especially in the tri-state area, about the NFL draft, especially since Cleveland's got the first pick, which means they'll just screw it up. The Giants are picking second. The Jets are picking third. The Bills have 2 first-round picks, but are supposedly going to really try to trade up into the top 5 or 6. I think they can accomplish that, but it's all surrounded about the quarterbacks. And Russ, hockey drafts, football drafts, basketball drafts, I can never remember a draft this chaotic where nobody had an idea what the number 1 was going to be.
Yeah, this is very chaotic, and I think there's a lot of misdirection that Cleveland's doing on purpose, which is fine. And I think they're just trying to be less predictable than they were in the past. Yeah. And that's fine. They're trying to create some fake drama. But, with the Josh Allen stuff that came out.
Yeah, and can we just say that this came out a couple years ago with Laramie Tunsil, the offensive lineman who's now with, I believe, Miami. Somebody took a phone video of him smoking a bong or basically or having a mask on. I mean, really, who?
Here's the thing. At the end of the day, you have to know, and your parents should tell you, or your advisor should tell you, anything you put online, anything that you do with a phone, it can come back and haunt you.
Yeah.
And that's just a cautionary tale, and it just happens every year now for the NFL draft.
Yeah, everybody has to be really careful. Just more than anything, like even every email you send, anything you put in writing, anywhere, is going to be public. That's how I always look at it. Like I'll never write an email. I'll never write an email that I don't think could eventually be public. That I would be okay. That I wouldn't survive.
Right. And this is going. Remember Warren Sapp back in the day, Ross, when about the rumors of him smoking dope.
Dan Marino too.
And Dan Marino, it was cocaine. I mean, it's like
I thought it was pot for Dan Marino.
No, it was coke.
Cocaine. Okay.
Yeah, the joke in Buffalo was because he sponsored his advertising was Isotoner gloves.
Oh yeah. He
says, now we know where he stores his coke.
Okay.
Yeah, but it which is just a dig on Marino. Yeah. But really, it's like I honestly I mean. First of all, I don't know. I can't understand the NFL team. Most of these guys, like Marcel Darius, the Bills' third overall pick a few years ago. They basically traded him for nothing because the guy was, getting high every 5 seconds and eating munchies. So he ate himself into oblivion and was, So I mean, like this is like really. A knocking down the stock of a player that they're smoking marijuana.
I mean, if the rumors are true, we never know if they're true as far as who might be going where. Like now we hear anybody could be going number 1, including Baker Mayfield. But the end of the day, if let's say Josh Allen's up on the board and the Jets are picking, you now have to think twice about putting a guy in the biggest media market because that story is going to be big for a while.
Yes.
Everybody will cover it, and it will be a big distraction. And so now it will follow this kid for a while, fairly or not. Like that's
but the weirdest thing about and this will be the last thing. The weirdest thing about this draft class, at least the top 4, is that every single one of them has a flaw. And every single the one that has the least amount of flaws in terms of on the field and off the field is supposedly Darnold. Yeah. But he has a kooky delivery or something like that they think they can straighten out. But Rosen, they think there's been speculation even from his coach in college that he's a locker room cancer. Mayfield's had
concussions too, right? So
he had a couple concussions. Mayfield has had some off the field problems, and now Allen is dropping. Yes, and Mayfield, and that's the thing. If Mayfield goes to the Cleveland Browns, the same team that took Johnny Manziel, and he's been compared to Johnny Manziel, You know what I'm saying? It's just that just feeds into the narrative.
Give me 1 minute, guys. Sorry, I got to call right back.
Okay, and then Alan now with these racial slurs and emails or text messages, which were when he was 15 years old.
Yeah, but it's still, I mean, that's, if you're online, it's a cautionary tale. End of the day, though, I still think 3 quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3. I'll be surprised if something like that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'm in the boat of, I think the quarterback to Cleveland's going 1. I think the Giants are taking either the running back Barkley from Penn State, or they may even either trade down or take the defensive guy Chubb, and then quarterbacks will go 3, probably 3, and then maybe 5, 6. Because the Bills or one of the other teams are going to trade up. So, they say Miami's interested in trading up and a few other teams as well. So it'll be interesting. All I know is we'll probably be texting each other like crazy. I told you this guy was going to go.
But I have to give a shout out here because, I'm a pet lover, and there's somebody in the chat room, Evan T. Young, who his dog Zoe broke a nail and it turned out to be a cancerous tumor in her foot.
Yeah. I saw that because he commented on one of our, and that really sucks. I'm
hoping for the best for your dog, because I understand that dogs are family members for me, yes, and they're like my kids. So I do hope the best for Zoe.
Yeah, honestly, it's weird. It's weird. I love dogs. I've never had one because when I lived at home, the parents didn't want to take care of the dog, and then I've lived on my own. Somebody has to take care of the dog when I'm not there, and
you're not there enough. So
exactly. So, all right. Eck will be here any second. I think he's just taking care of some.
He'll be around.
Yeah. We'll get started with the show. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Thursday, April 26th, 2018.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology,
and I'm Michael Agello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. What was that?
I said that's all I got.
Well, that's all you got, Great. We will talk right now about, unfortunately, the elimination of the Toronto Maple Leafs as they go down as expected, at least from my point of view, because I picked the Bruins in 7 to the Boston Bruins last night, a 7-4 loss at TD Garden. All right, Russ, let me just
get lost. The final, is that confirmed?
Yes. That's an E5. Thank you very much.
E5, okay.
Yes. Give me your thoughts on the game.
Unfettered thoughts. Okay.
Your unfettered thoughts, and then I'll give you mine. Yes.
My first thought was I expected it to be a high-scoring game. I just did. I don't know why. I mean, I do know the Leafs don't have a great defense, but Boston's defense is pretty good. But for some reason, I just expected a high-scoring game. The fact that, some fans were getting antsy about Tuukka Rask is crazy. Just leave him alone. He's fine. I don't get all the angst about Tuukka Rask. That's just silliness. The first 2 periods were great. I mean, they were close. Everything was right in there. The biggest thing is you saw the 2 big things that you saw in the third period were the defensive breakdowns, like with Jake Gardner. I don't know why he tried to go across the ice to stay with DeBrusk and then hit him at the last second because somebody else had a better path to him. And that was just, to me, bad hockey sense. Maybe he just was not thinking. And then I also saw Freddie Anderson definitely wear down. He made great saves for the first 2 periods, but I think he's played too much this year. I do.
Well, in terms of bad hockey sense and wrong decisions, that's prototypical of Jake Gardner. It's been that's been his his DNA, his resume for the entire time he's been with the Leafs. I think that's why back in the day when the Leafs were trying to trade Francois Beauchemin back to Anaheim, and they wanted Justin Schultz, and the Ducks basically said, "No, we will trade you Gardner." And that didn't get Justin Schultz because he ended up signing with Edmonton. But overall thoughts. I agree with your point about Freddie Anderson. I said during the season he played 66 games during the regular season. I thought it was too much. You had 2 goaltenders, one in Curtis McElhinney, who's basically a good solid number 2 backup veteran guy, and Calvin Pickard down in the AHL, who's played a lot in the NHL, who they could have given Anderson a little more rest during the year, but they decided to load up the number one games on him, and he played well for most of the year, but he tailed off in the last 5 weeks of the regular season. His goals against was over 3.5. His save percentage was under 900 the last 5 weeks of the season, and in the playoffs, when he was great, he was great. When he was not so great, he was bad. And last night he gave up 3 goals in the first period that I thought 2 of them were stoppable. When the one puck, I think it was a Krug shot, drifted, rolled through his pads and almost crossed the goal line. I'm like, oh boy, here you go, because normally he doesn't do that. But then they came right back and scored, and 2 of the 3 goals in the first period were ones he should have stopped. Second period, I thought he was really good. The Leafs took the lead 4-3 in the third period, and then I'm not blaming him for all these goals.
No.
The Krug goal that tied it was a wide open point shot from long range. Yeah. And they said maybe there was some sort of moving screen, but he missed it. And that goal killed because their lead evaporated within, I think, a couple minutes. And then Gardner with the ultimate brain cramp on DeBrusk's goal, and then Gardner was on the ice. I mean, Gardner was -5 last night, folks. I mean, I'm sorry. The analytics crowd out there, please try to defend Jake Gardner now, because you look like a bunch of friggin' idiots if you do.
Well, it's definitely indefensible. On the plus side, look, Marner played great.
Yes.
There were a lot of players that played great. I think this criticism that's popped up of Austin Matthews is absurd, because when you're 20 years old and you're facing a Hall of Fame defenseman in Zdeno Chara and Charlie McAvoy, who knows him and also is a really top young defenseman in the league, you're not going to do much. And people have to understand, and I really don't think Mike Babcock was pinning all his playoff hopes on a 20-year-old either. That's why they got Marlowe. That's why they had other guys. Yes. It's just, I think fans started to do that, and then writers went with it, and it didn't make sense to me, and it still doesn't.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been at Air Canada Center covering the Leafs all year this year. I covered 39 of the 41 games. I've been there. I would have picked up on the vibe, whether Babcock and Matthew, there was some tension between them. I didn't pick up on anything at all. I didn't hear anything at all. So I think, I mean, I have respect for Nick Kypreos, but I think this stuff is crap. I think this is excuse. That's what I really think it is. And I mean, he was being matched up against 2 Hall of Famers and probably a future all-star in McAvoy. They were on the ice. Chara, Bergeron, and McAvoy were on the ice almost every time that Matthews was on. So to blame a 20-year-old and his, he scored a goal and an assist in 7 games, I think is intellectually lazy and just really stupid. But, I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think it's Matthews' fault at all. I mean, I do think that, I don't know. I mean, you watched him all year, so I don't love the way he play. I don't love the playing time he gets. Like, I feel like he should get more playing time than he gets.
Russ, this is the thing, and I've heard this a lot today. That Matthews is, Calder Trophy winner, one of the maybe top 5 players in the league. Yeah. And that Babcock should be double shifting him. He should be playing him on the first power play. Okay, first of all, the power play. They were second in the NHL. Why the hell would you mess up that power play to put Austin Matthews on it when he's on the second power play? You had Bozak, Kadri, Van Riemsdyk, Marner, and Riley as a unit. They were 25% all year. Why would you mess with that?
No, you wouldn't. That's absurd.
No, but
I wouldn't want to pile on too many minutes on him either, Eck. I mean, again, I
know, but I agree. And listen, I mean, there's definitely an argument to be made for that. I totally understand where you're coming from. But I think that the one thing, I mean, just as an outside observer who didn't watch as many Leafs games as you did this year, Mike, or I think that, like, during this series, when there have been key moments when the Leafs needed a goal, I've looked on the ice and you just expect him to be there, like, and he's not. Like with other teams, their star player get to that kind of key moment. When they first pulled a goalie last night, I mean, like that, like he's not out there right away. Like it's strange to me how he's not out there where they pulled the goalie. Then he's out there on the second shift. That he probably was just out there right before that. But at the end of the day, there's too many times like that I feel like I'm watching and I just expect him to be on the ice because he is the best player on the team.
I mean, they scored the second most goals in the NHL this year, and one of the reasons why is because they had a balanced offensive attack.
And he's probably hurt. I mean, he's probably not 100%.
Right, and there's been some speculation about that. And
he was hurt, and he came back early.
Right.
Like we know,
right, but then he made. I mean, there was a play he made right before the goal, right before the last final, the empty net goal by Marchand. That was incredible, like an unbelievable stick handle over the blue line. Like he just deked somebody at high speed and in a high intensity game with that arena going crazy for his age. He made a move that was just nasty, like completely ridiculous. And I wanted to see more of it. Like I wanted to see more. It was obvious. You saw last night the Leafs youth came out when they were trying to come back. Like in the last 5 minutes of that game, they were skitterish, and the game
was over when Pasternak scored to make it 6-4. I mean, that's not exactly
that's true, but still, even before Pasternak scored, they were very skitterish. Their outlets were skitterish. I mean, all their holes were glaring, but they, and Marner. I mean, I would tell you who I was really impressed with was Kapanen. Like just in general, I think he's a heck of a player.
Great. That shorthanded goal was great.
He's a hell of a player, and to be honest, if he is available for a defenseman in the future, well, they'll get something pretty good for him because he's got serious talent.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, we'll have a long time over the summer to debate the directions of where the Leafs are going to go. But this is the impression that I'm getting right after. It does not sound like there's a chance that Van Riemsdyk and Bozak are coming back because they have such a wealth of forwards. Kapanen and Andreas Janssen, who are playing on a fourth line, can move up in the lineup. Janssen has got a lot of skill, a lot of speed, and I think it would work pretty well. And plus, they have a couple 3 wingers. In the AHL, Carl Grundstrom, a Swedish Hockey League product, who was a second-round pick from a couple years ago, was really good. Jeremy Bracco has really grown in the last couple months. So they have depth in the organization at forward, but contractually, I think if I continue to say, and I will continue to say till I'm blue in the face, this team will never win unless they make that trade for a top 2 to top 4 defenseman.
They got to be one of those guys.
And I think that you could see with William Nylander coming up on restricted free agency, him being moved for that type of player. If it's a Noah Hannafin or a Trouba, or if they can, trade for an Oliver Ekman-Larsson and get him signed to a contract, it's going to be something like that because they're not moving Marner, and obviously Matthews is the linchpin of that franchise. Right. But
I think those two are equally important to keep.
There's something else too, Mike, I want to address because it's raging in the chat room. The defense of Jake Gardiner, he's our best guy for the power play. We don't have anybody else.
Riley's the top guy in the power play.
No, but then I know, but they're talking about like the next guy, right? So he's their next. But the idea is, to me, if you don't have Jake Gardiner in the future, and this is why I stress in the future, I think someone like Dermott could be on the second power play. But in the chat room, they're like, well, he can't even do it on the Marlies. I'm like, but he's 21 years old.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't. You can't equate the Marlies. I mean, honestly,
but he's 21.
All you have to know is this: Gostisbehere's difference between the Phantoms and the Flyers.
Oh, it was massive.
Was astonishing. Like he was. They took him a while to bring him up because he was just okay at the Phantoms. Yeah. The second they brought him up, sometimes super skilled players just play better with other skilled players.
In seeing Dermott as much as I have since he was drafted in 2015, I've seen him play with the Marlies a lot. I've obviously seen him for most of his NHL career. I'm telling you, he's a top 4 defenseman. Yeah. I think he could handle being moved up into the top 4. That's the thing. They have Riley and Dermott and Gardiner on the left side, and the most important thing of those of that situation is Gardiner is a UFA after next year. They will not make the same stupid mistake that they did this year. And this is not getting as much criticism now, but it will in the next few days. The short-sightedness of Leaf management to not go out and trade James Van Riemsdyk and trade Tyler Bozak and trade a second-round pick to get Thomas Buchanan's when basically everybody was picking Boston and said they had little chance to get by Boston or Tampa. I understand the motivation of Mike Babcock and the management to say we have a chance of winning the Stanley Cup, but you really did not. You were still in the rebuild, and you wasted assets, and you missed opportunities to get assets.
Here's the thing, though, that I've talked to people about Plekanec. I've actually talked to people pretty close to Lamoriello about Plekanec too, and I've just because I was curious, and it was a 50-50 deal, how Lou described it, 50% on the ice and 50% off the ice, and meaning that Lou felt like his forwards needed to be around someone like Thomas Plekanec, like for what it's they felt like he needed to be around someone who had experience, who'd played the game.
That's why he didn't help him though.
He didn't help him on the ice that much. He did have a pretty good playoff. He wasn't terrible.
No, like he had one really good game, and then the rest he was like.
But we don't know what he meant to the team as far as just being around. Like that's the thing.
That was the motivation behind Brian Boyle, and the leadership, the experience on the ice. And I get that, but that's the thing. The problem here is this team was not a Brian Boyle or a Thomas Plekanec away from winning either a couple rounds or a Stanley Cup. There's still a work in progress.
I agree with you. The thing with JVR, though, I really get the sense that they believe that JVR is going to come in for a lot less money than people think. And I think because JVR likes playing there and he wants
for less money, I really would be shocked.
No, we'll place bets on this on a number for him. But if it's under $6 million a year.
That's the thing. I don't think they can afford, unless they trade Nylander. I don't think they can afford that. And that's the thing. It's like, he took an undervalued contract. He took term, and it was making $4.25 from the deal that he signed with the Flyers in 2012. Yeah. So they've had a bargain since they made that trade.
What if he only goes up to 5?
If he goes up to 5, I think the thing that they would have to. That would be a mitigating factor is term. First of all, he scored 36 goals last year, and other than Tavares, he's the best forward in this free agent.
And I get that. And you're losing, and he's going to be really, and I also didn't think they played him well in the playoffs. Like as far as his minutes go, like I felt like they needed to get more
because 5-on-5, he's been a defensive liability.
But in the playoffs in his career, he's been lights out. You know what I mean? And I just and this is something that goes back to Lamoriello actually with Team USA way back in the 2010 Olympics. Like Lamoriello, he was part of that whole big group of Burke and all that stuff who just don't believe in JVR as much as they should and they don't look at the fact that the guy is lights out in his career in tournaments or any situation like this. Like this is. And the Flyers, he single-handedly carried the Flyers one playoffs into
in 2010.
And at times you saw it again, like when he's skating at his best, and I saw it even last night a little bit, but it's just so frustrating. That was obviously another terrible situation. Giving up 3 goals in the third period again is deja vu. Like they could stop saying it. Doc Emmerich.
Here's the other thing too, Eck. I do want to stress this again for the chat room. A, I would get rid of Gardner. B, for the guy that says he had season tickets to the Wolves and saw Dermott a lot. Dermott was the lone point guy for Dylan Strome and Connor McDavid, and then he was also the lone point guy when DeBrincat and Radish were on the team. Like he just hasn't been given
for Erie for the Otters.
Yes, for Erie, he just has not been put in that role, and I'm telling you, he can grow into that role. Everybody's thinking like we can't lose Jake Gardner because of what he does offensively, but you can lose Jake Gardner because what he doesn't give you defensively is hurting the team.
He was not used as much on the point with the Marlies because they had a big shot in Andrew Nielsen, who they wanted to get up there, and they had other more experienced guys that they used back there. But Dermott was an offensive defenseman with the Marlies. He played well. And I think Babcock had confidence in him, enough confidence that when Riley was knocked out after getting hit with the Chara shot, they put Dermott on the power play. And
I think people have fallen into this trap with Gardner because
bad for
he skates well and he has the offensive ability on the power play. So everybody's like, well, we can't lose that.
I'm sorry. He scored 52 points, a career high this year. He's 1 year away from walking away for nothing. If you don't trade him, you either do one of two things this summer. If you're the Maple Leafs, if you believe in him, you sign him. If you don't, you trade him. There's no middle ground. You do not let him walk away for nothing. It is.
I agree with that.
He's in that really weird spot where he is good, but they want him to be something that he's not. And that he's been that his entire career in Toronto has been that way. And this year he was really good. For him, puts up the big numbers. But still, like another 10 to 15 points, then it's a no-brainer you bring him back. So he's still at like 52. He's still at that point where, on a team as high scoring as at least 52 points from a defenseman, who plays as much as minutes as he should happen, right? So it's, basically that's how I see it.
The funny thing was the supposed turnaround of Gardner last year under Babcock was because Babcock was protecting him. He was not matching him up against top lines. This year, it was not as much, and it showed. I mean, he'd been exposed at certain points.
But Freddie Anderson also came up kind of small last night.
I think he was tired. I really do think.
I do think he's tired too. Yeah, I mean, it was a really good game. I mean, I thought I was kind of shocked that it was 4-3 and going into the third period. It didn't feel like the Leafs should be winning that game. I mean, they were getting outshot. They were definitely, and then they really did. I mean, the Bruins did show their experience, and their defense took over. I mean, their defense really took over. Like the Leafs were throwing everything of a really good offense, and the Bruins defense was shutting them down. They were just doing a great job at clearing the puck. They were doing a great job at picking off passes.
Now it's funny because I was conversing with a Bruins reporter friend, and he said that if the Bruins had lost that game, that Tuukka Rask would have been gone.
Yeah, I was hearing that too during the game. I got 2 texts from people in the press box that was the roar going through the press box in Boston. Kind of crazy, and people, and it's so funny to the point where, if you noticed after the game I think it was Keith Jones, somebody said like people have to give Tuukka Rask a break. Like he actually kind of came out and said it, saying that that he was acknowledging that Rask, and it was weird because unless you knew that all this stuff was going on in the press box, you wouldn't. What Jones said came kind of out of left field. But it was like it was obvious that Jones was hearing the same thing.
Yeah.
They that was scapegoating. In my opinion, they're scapegoating Tuukka Rask because and when they should be, because they don't want to sit there and look at what they've done with Rick Nash, which is like, to me, that's about mine. Now, I think we're gonna have so much fun talking about the Maple Leaf team. They're a fun team. They're an exciting team to talk about.
And I'll learn more tomorrow because I believe locker.
Right, you'll be up at the media day.
I'll be going up for locker clean out tomorrow.
Everyone's favorite day, locker clean out day.
Yeah. No,
there's nothing worse than covering locker clean out day.
Yeah, no.
I do have a message on that though. We need to talk about the Flyers locker cleanup day for a minute because Marcus Hayes, a guy who literally goes to like 3 Flyers games a year. And just the playoffs decided to sort of parse what Claude Giroux said about the fans when they boo or they're negative. Yeah. And he says they try harder and sometimes they try too hard. He sort of turned that around like the boos affect him.
I will tell you this, that's not a good thing to do from his perspective with the Flyers organization, because they will not be happy about that.
Well, I don't even care about that. I'm just talking about reporting in general.
Yeah.
When you guys that barely ever go to games, and then they're looking to create headlines out of something that's pretty innocuous. What Giroux said, I just find that despicable.
I do too. And the one thing about, because Giroux, the one thing about Giroux is he is very honest.
He is honest.
He's never going to BS you. He's not going to sugarcoat things. And he'll even jokingly say, I remember who was he? I heard him say to like Sam Carchidi one point, how many goals did you think I would get this year or something like that? And Sam's like, yeah, I admit it. I said you were going to, only get 60 points or whatever, after Giroux got 100 points, and they joked about it.
Yeah.
Giroux's honest. He's a real good person. And he's going to tell you the quote. When I read that quote, to me, that's because we know Giroux. That's like, that's a Giroux just being like, he's like, in the moment upset a little bit because obviously it's clean out day and he's being honest, but I don't buy it for a second that really is how the team feels. And that's a shame when someone gets in there and does that. I agree with you 100%.
And just the last thing on this, I'm not sure how much we'll learn tomorrow, but I know that last year that Lou Lamoriello spoke to the media, and he hasn't spoken to the media other than in radio interviews. And I think at the deadline, that's been the extent of it. And
they are starting to phase him out. Like we all know that. Like that's not a surprise.
Yeah, but Russ, I don't see that. This is the thing with Marner's contract, with Matthews' contract, with the situations that are there right now. I don't know whether Brendan Shanahan wants to go into this offseason with a neophyte in Kyle Dennis. On an insult, he would be a first-time general manager. In the NHL, I don't know if he wants to do that now. But
at some point, the Lou era is gonna come to a close, and we also knew that going into this year, that he was going to be less of a public figure, and he has been. I'm not shocked at that. I'm really not.
Yeah, but the face has been Babcock. It's been mostly Babcock, and I mean, we'll get some sort of indicator from Lou. Maybe we'll get a revelation, because I remember a couple years ago at Locker Cleanout they revealed Kadri and Riley's contract extension. So maybe they'll announce the contract extension of Lamoriello or what his plans are. So we'll find out.
Definitely want, if you're a reporter, you want Lou going up there. You want to.
But Mike, talk about for just a second the Islander rumor. Like, where did this start?
Yeah, well, there's Elliot Friedman's 31 Thoughts. He had mentioned that the transition potentially of Lamoriello's contract was 3 years as GM and 2 years in some sort of senior advisor role, and that there was some indications, because Lamoriello's son Chris is involved in the management of the New York Islanders, and that he gets along well with Garth Snow, that the possibility of him going to the Islanders, maybe as team president, and maybe you have a little more input than an advisory role, that might be a possibility. His contract does not run out until June the 30th. So if that's part of this, then
they would let him go. I mean, they would let him go if he wanted.
They would let him go. Yeah.
Because it's considered that to step up, like they'll never stop somebody from stepping up. If you're going to team president,
well, I don't think you can. I think it's actually a league rule. You can't stop somebody from stepping up.
No, you can. You definitely can. You definitely can. You have to. It depends. It depends on the.
But the respect is there that they won't. I mean, if
on the contract, like, believe it or not, there's a lot of assistant GMs and other people out there that I've talked to who, you have to ask the team permission, and there's others that have
permission. But I think that's as far as it goes. Like, I think
that's permission is permission. If you don't have permission to talk to him, you can't.
I guess, but whoever turns it down.
No one's ever done it. I mean, I've never heard anybody do it.
I've never heard of it done.
But the funny thing is that if there is a transition from Lamoriello to Dubas, and Dubas has been labeled as more of an analytics guy, which I don't think is accurate. I think he uses analytics, but he's a pretty straightforward hockey guy.
He's the guy I'm thinking of. They did not let him interview with somebody.
Right, Colorado. They prevented
They asked permission and they said no.
Yeah, he's definitely the GM in waiting. It's just a question of when. And that's what I'm saying is that this off season, there's so much going on. I don't know whether they want to put all that on his plate in his first year. I mean, he'll have a lot of support, but I don't know. I
bet they just leave it up to Lou completely. They'll just say they'll say if Lou wants to go. I mean, I don't remember Lou retired. He was not coming back. He was done.
Correct.
And then he went to Toronto because it was such a unique situation. So
he was present. They kicked him upstairs, but it was basically a power.
Yeah, but he kicked upstairs, and he told everybody, "This is it. I'm done. I'm retiring." And he was done. He was perfectly happy with that. He was content. That's where he was going to go. And then all of a sudden,
that could happen would be for Lou Lamoriello to go to the Islanders like a Bill Torrey. It would be a really good situation, because I think he would change the outlook to fans as to what might be happening or what might happen. I think there'd be more optimism.
And his first move with the Islanders, Russ, is to sign John Tavares, do the sign and trade him to the Maple Leafs.
No, I think Lou. The only reason I would think Lou would go there would be because maybe he does want to help his son out in some way, shape, or form. Like maybe he sits there and says, his son really wants, like, and he goes, I could see him do that for a little bit. Kind of like, Scotty Bowman did with Stan Bowman in Chicago. But, I don't know. I think that, I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Before we move on to we're going to do we forgot to do X Addict yesterday. I'm really sorry. I had a good one, but next time Kevin Allen's on, but in honor of the Winnipeg, and I know I should be leaving this for tomorrow, but it's too good. I just found it. So a friend of mine grew up in Winnipeg a little while ago, gave me a bunch of old Winnipeg Jets memorabilia. So I'm going to show one today, one tomorrow when we have Pete on, I guess. But this is what we get today. So this is the 1972-73 WHA Media Guide.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Okay, so look how
yeah.
You know what media guides look like now, right? So yeah. And then so it stepped up in the 73.
To be fair though, the WHA was fairly new back then.
Yeah, 73-74 media guide for WHA. You see, you got Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
And this gets a little bit thicker. Okay, so you're looking
actually you got Bobby Hull before the toupee too.
Right, Bobby Hull before the toupee. And there's some things on here that are just awesome. On the back here, you have the Avco trophy.
Oh, the Avco Cup. Yes,
the Avco Cup. Yeah, which is that's amazing.
It's funny because remember the thing that the ticket stub from yesterday. the person that gave it to me said it was Howe and Delvecchio at the I think it was the conference final. So he was in the WHA at that point. Maybe their season was over with, and he was just, having a night out with his ex Red Wing buddy. That's interesting. I forgot about that.
Yeah. See,
and so I was going through the WHA rules.
Winnipeg fans talk about the Avco Cup with great admiration still.
Oh yeah. So I was going through the WHA rules here, and something that I never knew, I came across and I just saw this now, which is really interesting. The icing rule in the WHA. All right, which
was it touchless?
Nope. That's just the strip bar in Toronto. This is icing in the icing in the WHA. A new version of the icing rule will provide some additional difficulties for shorthanded teams. Simply, a shorthanded team in the WHA cannot clear the puck by dumping it into the other end of the ice. That will be ruled icing. You weren't allowed to ice the puck when you were shorthanded in WHA. I never knew that.
I never watched WHA games in New York. They were hard to come by. So I didn't.
I was 7 when it came out. So
I mean, and we're still having that discussion now. In the NHL, that rule's been tossed around a little bit, right?
Well, that and basically a 2-minute major, meaning
that you never get back on. I know,
right?
So, I mean, and it is the WHA is interesting. Like the going through like the basic the logos of this were really kind of crazy. And the funny thing about this, so I actually have there's some notes in here too, which her dad worked for the Jets. So, and one of the things her dad did was sign the original Bobby Hull contract, which I'll show tomorrow. Which actually is just on a 1-sheet piece of paper that, and he photocopied the handwritten contract for Bobby Hull that basically turned the whole NHL on edge, right? Because Bobby Hull they named the Jets because he was the Golden Jet, remember?
Right.
So that's like the crazy thing. So anyway, that's a little history. So that's X Addict. If you have an idea for X Addict, send it to Eklund@HockeyBuzz.com. Maybe something you should send a picture of something kind of really old and cool that you have hockey related, and we'll show it on the air. And if you do that, we'll try this. We'll definitely give you a big old shout out. So that's fun stuff. All right. Now we got to get
shout out in lieu of cash. Go ahead.
Yes. Shout out in lieu of cash, which is how, that's how our bloggers get paid. That's not true. Not yet, at least. All right. So
wait a second. I just got my raise for.
Yeah, there it is, Mike. I know. Don't spend it all at once. We're going to start paying in Canadian soon. All right. So just a joke. All right, so now we move on to tonight, and so before we do that, here's an interesting thing. Okay, so if you remember, we're going to do predictions. So what I did last time, I did, I'm not doing matchup predictions today. I'm not doing matchups for you yet, but what I am going to show you is something kind of fascinating. I did a crowdsourcing predictions, right, which was fun. I basically put out there, surveys for each of the series, and I wanted to see if I could beat my predictions, could beat what I call I came up with a name for it. I like my name. It's called the all-knowing internet mob, or ACM, which is, because whenever I put anything out on the internet, if it's slightly wrong, which it does.
Oh yeah, the correctors will be right out there.
Yeah, I mean, so because me, I'm just one person and I make mistakes, but the all-knowing internet mob, you can't. Between them, you're never gonna have with them. So I think I got 6 of the 8 right. Remember, I got Boston. I had Boston and New Jersey. I had New Jersey and Toronto. So here's what they picked in the first round. Ready? So Boston versus Toronto. The all-knowing internet mob, 57% of them picked Toronto. They were wrong. 6, and the average was 6 or 7.
Really? Well, they were only as wrong as Mike. No, actually, Mike picked against them. So
yeah,
Pittsburgh.
I went 5-3.
The all-knowing internet mob, 72% picked Pittsburgh, so we give them that one. Capitals and Jackets, 54% picked the Capitals, so they were right there. New Jersey and Tampa, 78% picked Tampa.
My mother could pick Tampa.
Yeah. I didn't. The Preds.
You can't be Mike's mother, to be fair.
I'm not. That's true. Preds and Avs. I want you guys to guess the percentage of people that pick the Predators in this series.
95.
97.
93, man. You guys are pretty close. 93%. 55% said it would be Nashville in 5 games. Knights versus Kings.
I said a sweep.
Who was the favorite?
Don't start again. We know who the favorite was. It was the first place team.
One person, and I don't know who it is, picked the Knights in 4 games out of 6,200.
Wow.
I wish I could find that person who picked the 6,200. One person picked the Knights, but 64% picked the Kings. So they were wrong. Sharks versus Ducks. Who do you think they picked in this one?
Ducks.
56% of them picked the Sharks.
Oh, wow.
Our crowd knows what they're doing. So they were right. Jets versus Wild.
Jets.
All right, but how much by?
70-30.
65.
91%.
Wow.
Jets. So the all-knowing internet mob.
That was Peter just revoting and revoting and revoting.
The all-knowing internet mob picked got 6 of 8 right as well. So I'm tied with them, just for what it's worth. We're tied. And now that we head into the next round, I'm going to tell you where they are with these 4 series right now, and see if you guys can guess where they would be with this.
Are we doing just the ones that are tonight, or are we doing all?
Well, for this crowdsourcing, we'll do all of them, but then we're actually going to only talk about the ones that are tonight. But let's just let's start with this. So let's go tonight. First of all, you've got the big game tonight, or whatever. They're both really fun games. Let's start with the Penguins and Capitals. What do you think, the all-knowing internet mob? Where do you think they're going in this one?
Penguins. I'd say 65-35%.
Nope, I'm going Capitals 68%.
They are going. I'm got to do my math in my head. 62% Penguins.
Yeah.
Okay.
Overwhelmingly 6 games, like 38%. Okay. Golden Knights versus Sharks.
They're going 60% Golden Knights.
Yep, I agree around there, around 60-40. Yeah.
How about this? 51%. For Vegas.
Okay, so it's a pick.
49 for Sharks. There were only 837 votes. There's going to be a lot more to come in, so that could change. That's still, we're still.
What do you mean a lot more to come in? This sounds crooked.
No, because I'm gonna let it go for the rest of the day.
Ballots? Like, what do you mean more to come in?
Right. There's still some people in Sunnyvale, California that haven't been voted.
It's like Florida, Russ. There are counties on the Panhandle that are in different time zones, so they stay open for another hour.
Right.
That's where the ballot boxes are stuffed.
Tampa and Boston.
I would say Tampa 60-40.
Russ?
He's taking care of Kai.
Sorry, I had the other thing up. All right. Well, if Russ was here, he would say Tampa and about the same, I would say. They're going with Tampa in 75% over Boston.
Okay.
Not okay. They actually went, so, and now the Preds and Jets.
I would say it's, well, I mean, that's a good man. I would say it's, if anything, it's like 52-48 Predators.
Wow, Mike, you got the right percentage.
Yeah.
But the wrong team.
It's Winnipeg. Okay.
52-48 for Winnipeg right now.
Yeah, it's basically a pick 'em. I mean, that's
And you do have to, like, Toronto. We have a lot of Toronto readers. So, like, I think that Toronto, Boston, I kind of give that a little bit the other way. So
and interesting thing here. I mean, unlike when it was Ottawa, unlike when it is Montreal,
right?
Unlike if it's Edmonton or Vancouver, I think that Canada is rallying behind Winnipeg because Winnipeg is. I like Winnipeg. I think they're a great team.
They're a fun team to root for.
I'd like to see them have some success. I mean, I think Nashville's too strong. But I'm not rooting against the Jets. I'd like to see them have some success. But I still think Nashville's going to win that series. But I do get that Canadian get behind one team is actual this year.
No, I think that's true. So Russ, did you hear those that we said there?
I did not. No.
Okay, so right now they're going 52% for Winnipeg.
Okay.
They're going 51% for San Jose. Right, and then things are obviously changing quickly. Yeah. They went 75% for Tampa.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I think so it's always fascinating to me how this plays out. So we'll see. His goes, but anyway, we'll check into this more as we go. But we're going to start talking about the games ourselves now and make our own picks. So let's go there.
Okay.
Now, the other thing I had to mention, the last thing someone texted me this, that TSN on Twitter had made, because TSN, if nothing else, loves to rub in anything they can against the Maple Leafs. I will admit this. TSN I've been around them. They hate the Maple Leafs. They really do. I'm going to just be blunt about it. Like the people who work there, maybe it's because they work in the same city.
They own the Maple Leafs.
What?
They own the Maple Leafs.
They own the Maple Leafs, but I'm telling you that any chance they get, they will take shots at them, and you know this is true. So,
some yes, some no, but I think it's.
They threw out the stat today that the Maple Leafs are the only Canadian NHL team to never win a playoff series in the salary cap era. There you go.
Okay, and that's true, and it's true. I mean, hell, excuse me, I'm the one who's been railing against the Leafs defense being total crap over the last few years, and the Leafs gave up the most goals in the playoffs. Now they're tied with Philadelphia, and Philadelphia averaged more goals per game. On average, it was 4.66, and the Leafs were 4. But still, they gave up 28 goals in 7 games. Yeah. I'm not anti Maple Leaf. It's it's a record. It's numbers. It's there. You have to right now, right? You have to speak truth.
So there was, and someone also said I have to bring up the fact that there was a 6 overtime game last night in the KHL. I don't know if you guys heard about this.
I thought the KHL, I thought the Gagarin Cup was awarded already.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think now. Well, let's see. It says this
maybe
is
the under 18. Maybe it was under 18.
This is a different tournament.
Yeah, maybe it's not the KHL. I guess a different tournament. New York Ranger prospect Igor Rykov.
Okay, Rykov, yeah.
I got established an all-time Russian league record last night by logging 61 minutes and 19 seconds of ice time. While helping Ska Neva of the VHL defeat Dynamo.
Yeah, that's their junior. That's their. I think that's their ECHL because the MHL is their AHL.
Yeah, right. Okay. The MHL is their AHL. Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's pretty interesting. Anyway,
so that's like the South Carolina Stingrays playing the Orlando Solar Bears. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
And I missed this, but you
don't miss anything.
Jake Gardner's quote that the most important game this season. I didn't show up. He actually said that last night.
Yeah, he was emotional. He cried. He was crying. I mean, I feel for the guy, but honestly, and I had some feedback from Leaf fans saying, well, they miss using him. He should be a 5'6" defenseman. You can't play a guy who's making, especially a guy who's making $4 million on your bottom pairing. He's either good enough to play in your top 4 or he's not good enough to play for you. So that will be determined. And there is some speculation that he might be traded during the offseason, and I think they'd get good value for him. So we'll see.
All right. So there you have it. Last little bit of news before we get into the predictions, and which but I just got this text too, and I didn't realize this. The Quebec Ramparts make news today. Did you see this?
Oh, Patrick Waugh. Yes, he is
officially announced the return of Patrick Waugh as head coach and GM.
That's good. I mean, I can give a quick story. I went and covered a game there because I was there to see Angelo Esposito.
Right.
And so I'm there post game, and I let like 2 or 3 questions get fired off in French, and then I figured while there was a second lull, let me ask a question. And so I asked a question, of course, not in French, and everybody turns around and looks at me, and even Patrick Waugh had to like think about it for a second because he had a switch, I guess, in his brain, and then he answered the question. But it was just a funny moment where I stopped the room because I asked a non-French question.
No, you're out of order. They get the first questions, Russ, and then
you get the first 3. What else do they want?
Yeah, I think that's pretty funny. All right, all right. So let's go to Pittsburgh and Washington. We did talk about this a little bit yesterday, obviously. So, and I don't know if we made our predictions or not.
We did not.
Chasing rumors at the end of yesterday, and there's going to be more of that today. But all right. So I went out on. I did make mine though. I told you that I do think the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to lose this series. Okay. That the Capitals are going to win this series in 7. It's the first time I picked against them. I picked the last 9 Penguin series. I picked them to win. I'm going with the Capitals. I think that everything's going. Okay, so that's mine, Mike.
I'm picking the Penguins in 7. I think that the injury to Malkin will make it a closer series, depending on how effective he is when he comes back. The Penguins' defense, even though they won the series against Philadelphia, was not good. It's beatable. But they do have Letang and they do have Crosby. And if Matt Murray is Matt Murray, I think that they will best the Capitals because the Capitals still, in my mind, have not proved they can beat them. And if they do beat them, that's great. But show me, because right now I don't buy that you can beat Sidney Crosby and the Penguins. So I think Penguins in 7.
the Capitals have a really horrible Game 7 record. Just so you know, Ekman.
I know. I do. I believe me. I know that one.
So I do like your pick in that regard because I know it's not going to happen. I'm going to go Pens in 6 because I even texted Brian Metzer the other day because I was astounded by the amount of people that are just trying to find reasons why the Penguins can't possibly keep advancing in these playoffs, trying to look for every little problem that they have as to why they're going to eventually fail. And I'll be honest, they keep rising to the occasion, so I can't do it. I'm going Pens in 6.
Russ, you know what it is? It's like it's the media that they don't want to go back to Pittsburgh and eat the garbage plate anymore. That's what it is. They're tired of the restaurants after they're over the last couple of years. They just don't want to go back.
Could be.
Yeah, it would be closer. It would be a closer drive for us, Russ, to get away. I've done the turnpike. I've done the PA turnpike enough times. I'm a little tired of that one, so I'd be okay with that one myself. But I just think that people are just downplaying how good this Capitals team is playing right now. I mean, there might not be the best Capitals team, but
great right now. I'm not sure the Capitals are. I think Columbus's play bottomed out when Holtby got great.
Right.
And Ovechkin woke up to some degree. We'll see if he stays hot. But otherwise, I'm not sure the Capitals team's playing great.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I think that is fair, but I think Matt Murray is not playing that well. That we'll find out. Time will tell. I mean, he's not killing it right now. So I was trying to come up with the statistics for that first round, but I was having a tough time doing it right now. But anyway, let's move on to Vegas and San Jose.
Russ, you go first.
So I like the way Vegas is playing. I do. I think Marc-Andre Fleury is one of the best goalies in the playoffs. But I get the feeling that with the appearance of Joe Thornton last round and the eventual insertion of Joe Thornton this round, that has given the Sharks like this boost that they haven't had all year, really. And so I think that's a big deal. And I think the Sharks defense, because I've looked over their defense and watched the way they've played, I think their defense is better than Las Vegas, and I think it's actually kind of unheralded this year because for what they've been able to do, even down to the third pair. Their third pair is even pretty good. So, Marc-Andre Vlasic probably doesn't get enough credit for what he does. And, I mean, Burns seems to suck up all the spotlight, but Vlasic's still really good.
Yeah.
End of the day, I'm going Sharks in 6 because I think by game 2 or 3, Thornton will be back. Right. And I think that the youth that the Sharks have added will let them be able to keep pace with Vegas, and I think that's going to help them because I think there's enough young guys there and good skaters there that they'll be able to do it.
Yeah, that young guy Eric Fair is really going to make a difference.
How much is the fourth line going to play, Mike? Go ahead and be a hater. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm finally buying in, and maybe this is bad news for the Golden Knights, but I'm finally buying into the Magic. The thing is that their offense is so diversified that there's like not a guy one guy to shut down, right, which will be difficult for San Jose to match up with. Everybody has speed. Everybody is operating at in fifth gear, and Fleury, if he continues to play like he played in the first round, which was unconscious, I think the Golden Knights, because I've never, I was a doubter of the Sharks. I thought they were going to miss the playoffs, so I have to continue with my doubt. Even though Evander Kane has brought some offense to them that they've needed badly. I think the Golden Knights. I think it's going to be a tight, long series, and I think the Golden Knights will pull it out in 7 games.
I mean, to be fair, Mike was an early adopter and had a Chevy Corvair, but all right.
A couple of things. Vegas actually pretty much took the series from them. I think
regular season.
I'm just saying, I've got this bet that I'm going to be able to beat Mike with the matchup. So we have to go through the first round again. I got to go back and see it, but I still think the regular season matters. I think it matters what I like to do before picking a game is picking a series is I watch a couple of games just to see what these teams look like.
What you like to do is ask your wife because she's got a handle on it.
No. Nope.
She runs it through the abacus.
This is This, I think, is going to be a very good series. The issue with beating a hot goalie, okay, like you do with Marc-Andre Fleury, you need snipers to do it. That's always been my theory. Like you're not gonna the way Fleury plays, like to beat him, you're gonna have to have guys who can really pick corners and stuff like that.
Or
like
get under his skin. Logan Couture can get under his skin.
Yeah, I mean you can do that for sure, and definitely that can happen with Murray.
They didn't do that. The Kings did not do that.
It was amazing to me that the Kings didn't do that. We talked about that, and that Stevens didn't know to do that because Stevens was in Philly when Philly did that to Marc-Andre Fleury.
Correct.
Or have Joel Ward go through the crease and concuss him.
Right.
Something not on purpose, but I'm saying, you make contact with Fleury, you could, he's had that history. I mean, not to go, going in the Bruins series, the Bruins made a lot of contact with Freddie Anderson.
I mean, the Sharks, you're right. Their defense is underrated. They were second best to the Kings, and so the Vegas sits there and they have to deal with the two best defenses in the first two rounds on a team that shouldn't have a whole lot of scoring because they're not like full of talent with scoring, but they managed to get enough goals. I think it's going to be similar 1-0, 2-1 games. I think it's going to be.
I think that's fair.
I think it's going to be like that. And I do think at the end of the day the Sharks are going to win this series in 6.
Oh, so I'm the outlier. I'm the one who finally.
Yeah.
Yep. You're going to be. Mike's going to be that guy that walks up to the craps table, and this guy's been hitting, and Mike finally goes, bets with the roller, and he hits a 7.
It's snake eyes. No, it's snake eyes.
No, 7's worse, right? Because you're out on 7.
Right. I mean,
that's why
it's so hard to pick against the Knights when they haven't even lost in the playoffs yet.
That's why I don't play craps.
That's the thing with the Sharks, with the Knights. They haven't even lost a playoff game yet. So we're sitting there and saying they're going to lose 4, right? So it's tricky. But these two teams really had they both played so well in the first round that it's hard. They're both, and I just think the Sharks have more defense. And I agree with you on that. I think it comes down to defense and both. I mean, goalies, no one can play better than Quick played. Honestly, he played incredible too. So I don't think you're going to get better goaltending. I just think you're going to get more scoring. The Sharks have more depth of scoring than the Kings have, and I think that'll make a difference. So I think the Sharks are going to make it through to the conference final. So tomorrow we'll get into these other games, of course. Right. So tomorrow night, Vegas and Winnipeg and Nashville hits tomorrow night.
Right, and Saturday afternoon it's Boston, Tampa.
Bruins got a serious break here, didn't they? I mean, you go 7 games, you're not supposed to have that much time off.
It's true.
But the Bruins had such a horrible schedule at the end of the year. I mean, I'm glad they did give them time off because they played something like 19 games in 33 days or whatever it was at the end of the year.
I mean, they're only getting a day and a half, basically. It's one travel day, and then it's one day, and then they're playing at 3:00 in the afternoon. So it's not a ton of rest.
Something that I think is going to hurt Boston that sort of went under the radar. I think McQuaid got kind of really dinged up in the last game. And look, Tampa's had a lot of time to get healthy here. That's why I can't pick Boston over Tampa.
Yeah. Well, we'll save that one for tomorrow. But we'll definitely be back. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Enjoy the games tonight. I'm so glad we got back to I hate not having double headers. I got used to double headers. Coming back to a good old-fashioned doubleheader tonight. Enjoy the games. Talk to you soon.